wanted to talk just briefly about, first about Bike Walk KC, and in a nutshell, Bike Walk KC's mission essentially is to, excuse me, I'm getting sick, so I may have to cough a little bit. I'll be sure to turn away from everyone then. But in a nutshell, our mission is to make the Kansas City region a better place for people to bike and walk, primarily for transportation, but also for recreation. Why are we interested in this? And it's simple. Today's children are the first generation in American history who will potentially live. I'm actually going to step out just a little bit. I'm going to project. Everything okay? Today's youth are possibly less likely to live as long as their parents once did, as long as their parents did. So we're having a life expectancy that's shortening, and why is that? Blue KC reports that in the Kansas City region, 18% of children are obese, and so that brings on things like chronic disease, heart disease, type 2 diabetes is becoming prevalent among youth. And so we feel that one of the reasons for this is because kids are no longer getting exercise by way of active lifestyle. Compared to 1969, when approximately half of all kids, all elementary age kids, bike or walk to school, today only 15% do. So what was once a simple hour or half hour every day of their lives with exercise basically just integrating into their daily lives. Today, we're not getting that. And so we have kids who are becoming more and more obese and more likely to suffer from disease. And so what I want to talk today a little bit more detail is our BLAST program. BLAST stands for Bicycle Lesson and Safety Training. The concept behind this is to approach schools to provide a bicycle education program to give them the tools to bike to school and to empower them to get that physical activity that was once a part of all of our lives and no longer is. And so when a few years ago I had the fortune of being a part of a curriculum development team in Boulder, Colorado that developed this program. And the idea was we were charged with coming up with core concepts like these, but the underlying theme was to empower students to pick up a bicycle and ride it to school. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Maggie to talk a little bit about the logistics of BLAST, and then a little bit more.
So the BLAST classes are generally designed to be taught through the PE classes, facilitated by a PE teacher and usually two BLAST instructors that are trained in teaching the curriculum. Usually there's 4 total classes. The first session or first class is like classroom-based, teaching helmet fit, traffic signals, hand signals, that kind of thing. The last 3 classes, the last 3 sessions are outside on bike. We have a big box truck that we drive out and 25 mountain bikes and helmets that we bring out to each site, and the kids actually get on-bike experience riding, as you can see in the pictures, doing different courses, learning how to start and stop properly, going through pretend neighborhood intersections, learning how to signal. So the kids get on-bike experience. A lot of the kids don't know how to ride a bike, so I've developed kind of a separate little program to teach kids how to bike, which is kind of neat because the majority of the kids do know how, but then there's a few kids that have never learned, and they're usually in 5th grade. We target 5th grade students, and 5th graders, when they see the rest of their class riding bikes, they get really upset that they don't know how to ride a bike, so we teach them how as well. We also do a pre and post test to kind of judge how much the kids have learned, and generally the post-test results are 10% better average per class. So we definitely know the kids are learning a lot through the BLAST classes.
So one thing that we knew at the beginning of developing this program when we brought it to Kansas City, we took it from Boulder, transplanted it to Kansas City. And of course, the demographics of Kansas City are completely different than Boulder. In Boulder, there were some students who were better riders than the adults who were teaching the class. We had kids doing tricks and doing some amazing things on the bikes. In Kansas City, it's completely different. And that's why it's even more important here in Kansas City, because Those chronic diseases that we talked about disproportionately affect low-income families. They disproportionately affect communities of color, and that's who we're touching on with our BLAST program. The little diagram here shows that 73% of the students who are a part of BLAST are eligible for free and reduced lunch, so predominantly low income. And again, those folks are the ones who we're targeting with physical activity because they are less likely to get physical activity in their daily lives. And so by empowering them to hop on a bicycle and use it for transportation gives them a sense of personal freedom, and it also gives them exercise that's integrated into their daily life. And the kind of the ethnicity breakdown of who we've reached is pretty split. But I think more importantly, we see that a lot of our folks, a lot of our children are low income. So in the 2 years that we've been doing this program, we've hit 5 districts. Kansas City Public Schools and Hickman Mills are 2 of the lower income districts who we've hit. But we've reached 15 schools and approximately 2,000.
Can you back up? The BLAST program originally started in Kansas City almost 2 years ago, in the spring of 2012, as a pilot project funded by a Missouri Department of Transportation grant. So it was intended to be a pilot, and it started out, and this is what we've grown to, which is pretty awesome in 2 years. So in all of the schools that we attend, the BLAST program has gotten and received a lot of positive feedback. All of the coaches and the teachers want us to come back. All of the students don't want us to leave, and they want to keep riding the bikes. Just today I was in 2 schools this afternoon, and there was a lot of underclassmen who were coming up to me saying, I was unloading the bikes, and they were saying, are you the bike lady? Are you the bike lady? When do we get a turn? When does our class get a turn? So the whole school sees us, the program, coming to the school, and it's creating a school-wide impact. So much that when we return to the school to collect surveys and tests and stuff like that, we see more bikes in the bike racks. So that's like a direct result of what we're seeing through the program. We see that before we come, there's not that many bikes in the bike racks, and after we come, we see that more kids are biking to school, which is exactly what we want.
So what we're asking for today is an award in the amount of $25,000 so that we may expand. So we want to add another fleet. We want to add that second box truck, a trailer, what have you, possibly even a school bus. I think a school bus, if we roll up on a school bus and we unload bikes out of it, kids are going to think that's pretty cool. So that's also an option. But basically we can double our impact that way. We can double our output. We can reach more schools. This fall we had 25 schools on the waiting list. We grew from a meager beginning of 2 schools kind of way back in 2012 to a waiting list of 25. And so the reason why we can't hit those 25 schools is because we only have 1 fleet. So the idea here is we double our fleet, we add that second fleet, and we sustain our program. We take that what was once a pilot program and take it full scale. So adding the bikes, adding the truck, and adding a little bit of personnel is our goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're glad to take any questions.
Do you find that these kids that you're educating have bikes or have used them?
That's actually a question that I asked myself a lot in the beginning. So much so that I have kind of overcome that barrier by creating a different program. So out of the BLAST program, we don't give the bikes away. We have the set of bikes that we take to each school. But I ask myself that a lot, like what about these kids who don't have bikes when they go home? What's the point of learning these skills? So we've developed other curricula in a program called Earn a Bike, which is an after-school program. So we have another program like that I'm implementing right now in the Hickman Mills School District. So that's kind of how we've crossed that barrier.
Another thing is we find a lot of kids actually have bikes at home. They just don't have the tools or the know-how, the mental tools, the skills to fix them. Because oftentimes they're sitting at home with a flat tire or rusty chain. And empowering them through this Earn a Bike program, they're gaining the skills to actually fix their bike. And so it's sort of a double whammy there. Is there another question? All right, well thank you
Thanks
very
again.
much, Stacey, for your time.